Awesome. Okay, guys. So let's move into talking about. We've talked about individual units right now. So do we want to talk about maybe some of your favorite teams for attacking this season? Is that something you want to do?
Let's go.
All right, let's do that. So who wants to start us off?
I have two teams. I have 6 sets of LCL and Tiana, Poseidon, Galleon, and I'm done with C. Okay, the RNG factor is 15%, right? And we all know this.
Right.
And that's what I use. And then if I run out of stuff to use, I use Galleon, Tiana, Poseidon, which I have 3 sets of, and then have one more attack with.
So classic. It's so classic. It just works. Galleon, Tiana, Poseidon. It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yep. And it's just because, okay, talking about offensive unit, right? Since the Tiana buff, it's just way too strong. Offenses have gotten so easy in Siege that it's worth the 15% risk, right? Even if it's 15% on the resist, but even if it's very rare for it to miss 3 times on all 3 units. Even if you kill 2 units, unless it's the wrong one or you push back the wrong one, like a Molly, you don't push back, it's over. Tiana spins, way too much damage. So that buff has actually caused, I believe personally, the guild content to be too easy. I don't know if everybody agrees with me.
Oh,
Do you guys agree?
I think so. Mali farm OC. So I think it's right. We were at about half of the swords in not a single lose for Mali.
I agree that guild content is too easy, but I don't know if I tie it to Tiana because I also have 3 Tianas and I won't ever use her except on Tower 10 Rush.
The thing about Tiana is that we're building teams that can manage a few fails, right? And if you miss Death Break, Ganon can proc, and then you have Poseidon, which can push back, and Tiana brings a lot of damage. So we're trying to cover the RNG, the 15% RNG, right?
There's also the nerf to Kinky where guaranteed crits against Kinky work now. So with the Tiana guaranteed crit, it allows you to Tiana cleave a Kinky if you're brave, because if you miss a defense break, you could lose. But I remember as soon as that nerf happened, we paired with Malicious, and they took the Tower 10 in like less than 5 seconds. Like, we didn't even know that was possible. You could take a tower that fast. But clearly they Tiana cleaved all of them, because that's the only way. There's no other way to do it. So
That is crazy.
So it works, and then there's units like Chung Pong that can have multiple chances at pushback, and it makes these cleaves even safer if you miss those defense breaks. So I do agree that Tiana buff especially made these cleaves really safe. I don't know how much I would want to do it for a tournament, but for a regular season especially, we'll take the 90% and go for it.
Yeah. I think at the start of this, I said something along the lines of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's not exactly right, because it's more like, if it isn't broke, let's make it better if it's from the devs' perspective, because it's like, Tiana's kind of fire right now. And I'm glad you brought up the Kinky thing too, Drew, because that's a serious thing. That's what everybody was talking about when the balance patch came out. I think this was sort of like, it was already strong when that change to the Polar Queens happened, so now they auto-crit if there's no debuffs. But then once the Kinky thing came out, I think everybody kind of collectively went, oh no. Oh god. Okay, so that's great. So, Jeff, you brought up that one. Does anybody else want to add in another? Oh, wait, you said you had 2. Oh, it was the Light Chun-Li and this one. That's what you mentioned.
The Tiana, Poseidon.
And Tiana, Poseidon, Galleon.
Like I said, I have 6 Light Chun-Lis, 3 Tiana, Poseidon. Sometimes you can throw in an MST on offense, Tractor, Windy, Lulu. Oh, your siege is done.
There you go. Wow, you just gave us like 4 teams right now, dude. And I think they're all apt, to be honest. I think those are all like really powerful teams.
I'll be honest with you guys, and I'm sure everybody knows this, I don't do regular sieges. I'm not even in during regular season. I just come in for siege finals, but I guess I have a pretty good win rate for that, so they keep me in.
You have 6 Light Chun-Lis.
Yeah.
You talk about a team and you just mention one single monster.
Yeah.
It's just that strong. It's like Light Chun-Li, whatever. I can bring anyone for.
Does anybody else want to add in a favorite offensive team?
Well, I mean, I think everybody who has them uses Mirene Taeon Lucian or Mirene Dova Lucian, Odin Bethany Bastet. So I'll give you one. I don't actually have this unit, but I helped somebody build this team, and I think to date it's the most fun team I've ever done. It is Claire Dova Elenoa. Because cool. Claire on your Fat Lucian runes without attack buff can hit for 60k and can easily one-shot anything in the game, including a Kinky, with attack buff. So you go Dova into Claire, and then Elanoa into Clare. Now the trick with this team is if you would think you could just go Elanoa into Dova, into Clare, so that you get a second attack buff, but you get cut that way. So you go Dova into Clare and then Elanoa into Clare, and you can two-shot. It's actually much stronger than Odin Bethany Bastet. It's a lot of fun.
Wait, that's so dope. That's like such a fun team.
Yeah. So if anybody's got a spare Elanoa, I'll take one.
Yeah, dude, me too.
I feel like I'm missing the party here because I don't have any of them.
Oh,
I only
how you
I got the Clara.
yeah, you mentioned Marinate. Trust me, if I got any Marinates, it's over. My siege every single day would be done within the first hour.
Thank you for sharing.
I want to add a team.
Please.
It's the free-to-play path. I've personally been using a lot of Tezarion Chacha Triana. I think Tezarion is a great bruiser since he brings like Death Break, good damage, Oblivion, and Chacha can fight a lot against Destroys, and Destroys are really everywhere in defenses. And Triana just brings you safety and cleanses, so I think it's a very good team that can counter a lot of not fight defenses.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love the Cha-Cha representation. And Tessarion does more damage, and he prevents damage on himself in certain situations. Yeah. Great monster. Yeah, awesome. I love that.
I have a free-to-play team I like. Into all this Molly stuff, I like to use Wusa Reapers. So that's Wusa Sath Thring 2A. Mm-hmm. It's a fun team. You just throw up immunity, take first turn. Against this like Dominic, Molly, Theo, those kind of teams. A little more dangerous than Dominic because, like we said, Wusa could die, but you get your turns, Sath goes and puts up dots, and then Thrain's the dark one, right? So then dark one goes, and it's just a fun unit because it gets a lot of extra turns. And I would say it's a little bit of a riskier team. I probably wouldn't use it in tournament, but I have never lost with it. So there's, like you said, if it isn't broken, keep it going.
Don't fix it, and maybe just don't use it in Siege.
Yeah,
you know what they say.
Yeah, I mean, there's more premium options. Like a lot of people use Wusa Gani Rika for the same principle, where you reset, put up dots. It might be a little safer, but the Grim Reapers are just more fun. You get like one prog, you win automatically on Thrain.
For real, yeah. There's certainly like a fun factor there where it's like you're getting turns. It's like Andy can seal magic and ventilate and do everything, but it's like you're not taking all the turns that the Thrain's getting.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I really like that. Anybody else want to offer up a team, or should we maybe just hyper focus in on units now that are S tier on offense? Okay, I think maybe let's use that as a pivot point. So let's talk about this. We accidentally splashed in a few units before when we were talking about like the first wave of S tiers, but let's hyper focus back in on the S tier units for Siege offense. I have a feeling that I know a couple that you guys are gonna say. Does anybody want to start with a hand up or something?
We can definitely start with Wendy.
I knew he was gonna be the first.
If Wendy is S tier, the thing is, if Wendy is S tier, then there's no other S tier. Everything goes to A.
I hate Wendy.
On his own tier.
I forget who I was having a conversation with, but I compared the Wendy Tractor Lulu I was comparing their existence to back when we had only B10s in farming and it was just twins. It's like all the teams that you were gonna make, you might as well just not because the twins exist. And it's kind of a same thing, except it's a little bit more oppressive in terms of Siege. I would say a lot more because it's actually oppressive because it's making it so that you might as well just not because they exist. So that's a really good point. They have defined the way that Guild Siege is played. So I think it's only natural that Wendy is like at the tippity top and everybody else just kind of like goes down a tier.
Yeah.
Also because we can build as many Windies as we want, right? And he doesn't need any skill ups. So if we're talking about a defense and we look and I don't know, maybe it's easy to play with Bulwark or some Cleave, but how many times a guild can hit this, right? And Windy, I mean, infinite times. So Windy is just that strong.
He doesn't even need violent runes to spare runes. He doesn't detract runes from any of your other units. You build them on triple guard, triple energy. It doesn't matter.
He doesn't need runes.
He doesn't need
He just needs to exist. Just his existence is toxic.
Yeah, he just needs artifacts, that's all.
Artifacts on him is good. Oh man. Yeah, he's crazy. Okay.
It's the only unit I could think of where just the existence causes problems.
Yes. Like just the threat of him causes issues. Good point. Yeah, well said. All right, next one on the list, guys. Let's go.
Lulu and Tractor.
Oh, they're out. In my mind, as soon as Windy popped up there, they're right next to him. But yes, that's very true. So Tractor and Lulu are gonna go on there. Is there anybody else that you can think of that maybe isn't part of that triple threat that belongs in this? Like, and it's a little bit unfair because we've already talked about Dominic. We've already talked about these other monsters. The Light Chun-Li, we've talked about them just being super strong on offense.
We talked about Cha-Cha, which has a similar benefit and better in some ways to Windy as a offense unit, because as long as you manipulate the AI into what defense you're bringing in, Cha-Cha can be very valuable. Like running around Revenge, and she puts a huge shield, a huge heal. Can be a great unit. She killed our wonderful Chami meta, that and the DS buff, so I personally have a little hatred for Cha-Cha and Diaz for ruining the Chami cult, but
not the Chami, dude. Wait,
I
we
know.
had the song. Oh,
we had the
dude,
song. We had
had
everything.
the
It was great.
song, bro.
Jamie, it is what we live for. Destroy, setting every time she moves.
That's not right, man. We gotta bring
know.
Chami back.
I agree.
In whatever patch Windy gets nerfed, we gotta buff Chami. Like, we gotta
You can
do
buff
something.
Chami, or you can just nerf Diaz and Cha-Cha. You know, it'd be great.
Yeah, that's a great take. There you go.
Like the Mirene, Martina, Triana, all mentioned previously, but they all belong in that. And the Light Chun-Li, as you said, I'm not ignoring her. But they were all mentioned as part of comps. Bethany, a lot of these teams that were or units that were mentioned as part of comps, it's because those comps are built around the S tier unit.
Yep. There you go. So that's a very important note. Okay, guys.
Bang.
So we've talked about the S tiers for offense and defense. These are the best monsters that are kind of defining the meta and changing things. I think I want to just take a second and ask everybody. Maybe you could list one or two monsters or something, your favorite counters to these most powerful monsters that we talked about. When you see, and you can offer up which one it is. It's like when you see one of these monsters come up in a defense, like what do you like to bring or something?
I think I said earlier, but I love anytime I see a Tian Lang, because I just bring like a Light Chun-Li. Anyone has a Light Chun-Li, and you just want to go fast because you want to prevent one of your teammates from bringing a team that's not as good as Light Chun-Li into Tian Lang. So sometimes like a guild will have two that they keep rotating, and you're just like waiting for it to come up because you're just ready to use your Light Chun-Li. That's definitely one of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well said.
That's
That is a
awesome.
great one.
No one can deny me that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Great job, Jeff. 6 of them.
I mean, my favorite offense for a very long time was Nana Kinky Riley, and that offense I feel like it's almost unplayable at this point because the two main units in it have both been nerfed and nerfed. So anytime I can use that offense, I'm excited because it's fun because I haven't been able to use it safely for a long time. But as far as the units we talked about and the counters we talked about, for the most part, I feel like anytime you know that you can cleave one, you get excited because it feels like it's going to be much safer.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, okay, I'll give one offense that is not LCL, and it's probably my favorite to use, and I use it a lot. I would say it's I call him Trash Panda, but it's Mi Ying Riley for them. As long as you bring it into a team without dots, you can't really die.
Wow. Yeah, you're super
Mi
right.
Ying
actually.
Riley for them, you bring it into dots, especially since Mi Ying got the damage reduction buff recently as well. I've been using it before even the buff, and the damage coming into Mi Ying is, yeah, it doesn't die. That's
Is it just like
what I'm
negligible now? It's so low?
saying. Yeah, it's literally the best bruiser comp I personally use and have, and it does really well. Like a Dominic doesn't even do enough damage to it. Even
Wow.
just because, and also it has its own cleanse, so if it does have heal block, blah 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 blah. So it's really sick.
You know, I gotta say, I totally forgot about that. Like, as you were speaking about it, I remember the damage reduction, the increase, and like the defense break he offers, and I was like, man, and you got the heal from Riley and the safety from Huadam, and I totally forgot that he brings his very own cleanse to the table. So if he ever gets something detrimental on him, he can just take care of it. Like, nobody else even needs a turn. That's a crazy comp.
Yep.
I wish I got Mi Ying. I've got every other. I got the sandwich. I got the bread. I just need the interior of the sandwich.
I use a similar team with the Light Vampire. Same principle where Light Vampire doesn't die, and then you pair it with Riley. I don't have to use Huadan there because it does its job on its own. So I usually use Tessa or whatever unit I think can fit there. But even just the Light Vampire and Riley together can solo so many teams, because if you hit Riley, she stacks totems. If you hit the Light Vampire, he doesn't die, and then he cleanses himself on, I think he got a buff recently in that area. So a lot of times the third unit I bring just dies, and it doesn't matter. Just eventually you win.
There's a clip that I've been enjoying a lot, but I don't get many chances to use it, which is Galleon, Chloe, and Christina. And I really wanted to mention Christina because she's super underrated, but she just shined against Dominic, Molly, and Tiomar, and some other defenses where Dominic didn't have a reliable stripper with him. In this defense specifically, Molly can strip, and everything can go to hell because Molly does strip with skill 1, and she can break her team, but still, Christina showing there was really fun to me, and I enjoy a lot when I can use this team. But it's just, I think this team, Dominic teams without strippers, went out of meta because of how you can cleave them, especially with Chloe and any damage dealer. But Christina is really fun.
It's so fun. I'm really glad that you brought that up. Yeah, because Christina does never... This is like the one time I've heard anyone talk about Christina favorably.
Yeah, she's good.
She is actually in certain circumstances, and I agree with you that maybe that team sounds perfect in those situations you talked about. Maybe she doesn't necessarily have a home in like RTA or something, but I really like the situation you brought up. What do you guys think about Christina?
I saw someone use that team in our guild the last siege, and I was like, what? And what he just said, that one scenario, Molly stripped like the right buff, and they ended up losing. Another person lost with it because it was just Christina and Chloe versus Molly, and because it wasn't on Destroy, it was over. So put your Christina on Destroy, don't get stripped, and maybe it works.
I'll give you one more because you guys said you missed Cammy. Cammy, Kinky, Lulu. That's still one of my favorite teams to use. It's off meta, but when you do, that's a lot of fun to use.
I think our friends saw you use that team in a video or something, and they were excited to see Chammy used. They're always so excited when Champy pops up again.
Was it
she
the one
can
who made the
still
song? Was it the one?
Yeah, it's actually so much fun to use. She's like one of my favorite units to actually use.
He's actually in SSA with me now, so we're trying to bring it back.
The Operation Bring Her Back.
Bring her back.
Bring Chammy back. We gotta get her back in play. Awesome, guys. Are there any other teams that maybe you want to bring up, or maybe any tips that you learned, or anything that you're looking forward to in the next season?
When creating defenses, it doesn't matter because there's Tractor Windy Lulu.
That's right.
That was a very nihilistic look. That was a very like nothing you do matters because Tractor Windy Lulu exists. That's my tip. Says Jeff.
I guess the biggest advice for G1, G2 guilds especially is artifacts are so important for Siege. They're huge, if not more important than runes. Moving artifacts, moving your best artifacts for your attacks, for your defenses is really important. When you build your defenses, think about what you would bring in to attack it and try to utilize your artifacts to make that harder. Lower the percentage of that 100% offense to 90 and you've already made a better defense. And artifacts are a huge part of that.
I like your answer there, Drew, because it was two-part. It was have artifacts and have empathy. Be able to put yourself in your enemy's shoes as they're attacking you. I like that. That's great.
About artifacts, I think Samuel mentioned that some old defense are coming back, and I think it's mostly because of artifacts and how we can improve their defense rate and how some defenses can be really harder to hit when you have proper artifact setup. So as more as we learn about artifacts, the meta changes a little bit because there's still Tractor Lulu Windy, so it's always hard to go around this, but still artifacts. And I think we're still not like done about knowing artifacts in this game.
It's a good point. They're kind of like the lens that you use to look through like old units. It's like we're looking at units in a new way, right? We haven't seen them be used to this effect. Zeniel, do you have any tips or anything you'd like to share?
I guess I'll pile onto the artifact train with an example. I took a loss not too long ago where somebody had piled like a ton of speed plus proportional to lost HP on a unit because there was no nemesis. And I full rock comp and he had enough speed plus to cut my second rock with a Kamoon. It was a Kamoon, but the Kamoon shield popped up and kept the second rock from killing. And I actually lost that comp with something that you would never think. And I watched that replay over and over. I'm like, where's the nemesis? There was no nemesis.
Yo, that's crazy.
No.
That's awesome.
Think outside the box. That's honestly the most important thing. Be creative. Do things that people don't expect you to do, but don't do them for the sake of doing them. Do them because they specifically counter what you expect them to do. If the opponent is predictable and you're unpredictable, you're going to succeed more. So using what most of us consider to be the worst artifact subproperty to take a win over, that's creative because I was predictable.
That was an incredible message at the end. I love that. That was so uplifting, and it was wholesome, but also so true. Like, that was well said, man.
It
Well
wasn't
said.
wholesome in the moment it happened.
It wasn't wholesome when it happened. It was pretty egregious when it happened. It was terrible. Well, all right, guys. I think that's a great moment for us to close on. I want to thank everybody for joining me here today, and I want to say congratulations for everybody for being in the top 4, and for making it, of course, for also winning the tournament. But yeah, it was great. I love talking to you guys. Excellent call on the discussion format. You guys are so much fun to talk to.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
nice to
for
meet you guys.
having us.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, I'll see you here next season.
Yeah,
I
and
was just about to say congratulations.
and then Jeff pulls that. Zero sportsmanship.
Banter is kind of fun, right? That's what makes it fun. Is the banter.